Yay, the higher view. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So we have Theresa Dedmon on here. Sure, you guys already know all about her, but just to introduce her to those that might, she really is one of the amazing mothers. Really in the current revivalist movement in general. For those of you that follow Bethel and their flow and what they've birthed into this generation, she's just one of those amazing mothers. But then on top of it, she is an incredible creative, such an amazing artist. You guys have to go check out her stuff. I think it's TD Designs. Is that correct, Theresa? Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Go check it out. The only thing is just don't do what I do, because I go on there and I choose like 20 things, and then I try to narrow it down, and then I'm like, "Wah!" But I just got a sneak peek at the coolest piece of art that you guys can't have because I want to have it. So hopefully she's going to share that. But anyway, super excited, obviously, to have her on. Can't wait for her to share what's going on in her world. And I know she's got a really cool course that she's, I think, just getting ready to roll out. So we'll share that on here also. And Theresa, take it away. What's going on, woman?
Hey, everybody. It's so good to see you. I love what you're doing. This is so God. The fact that women are joining together and saying, what can I do with where I'm at, wherever I'm at? I mean, here we are in a COVID, but we're joining together in so many different places. And I am so honored to be here. And it is such a privilege to just hear Julie's heart, to hear Melissa, and just what you're doing, Rochelle, with the creative art. So my journey is kind of crazy, you guys. I started with a mom who was a wild, crazy woman for God, and was really involved in the charismatic movement, but was also an artist. So when I was 13, I was like, my gosh, we were doing plays in all the state prisons in Nevada and California. I was doing music. I was sharing my testimonies. We were just kind of everywhere, just sharing about God's love through creative ways of music or drama or things like that. And then I got launched into going to Bible college with my husband, Kevin, right after we graduated from high school. And that's when I really started to really get not only a firmer foundation, but more of an idea that the church needed women, And it was so funny. I remember the first time that we went into a church as an associate in Reno, Nevada. And I said, hey, I'm over here. I'd love to just pray for the sick or do whatever. I have my degree. My son was about 2 months old at the time, and he never, ever contacted me. And I remember thinking like, okay, I am going to go back and get my degree in psych because these people need help. I mean, this is not good, right? So I go back to Vanguard University in Southern California, and I ended up getting my degree. And that's when I found the Vineyard Movement. And I realized that there was a place where women could really happen in a leadership position. And so the following year after I graduated, I was asked to come on staff overseeing like women's ministries, counseling, all different kinds of small groups, and really launching my destiny in a sense, because again, I was so called to transform the church as a creative as well. And so then the creative stuff would just leak out. Then we planted our church in Huntington Beach. And that's where I got really involved with CBS, which is a community Bible study. I was a major leader in one of the chapters there. And I really began to grow in evangelism through creativity. So we would change songs like Alanis Morissette, Sheryl Crow. I would be singing these all over the inner city of LA. And I was a rap dancer. I will not demonstrate ever. These crazy things. I got involved with just clowning and had so many kids come to Christ through face painting, through balloons. I would use all different kinds of creative ways to bring people to Jesus. And it was so much fun. And I saw so much happening because creativity is the language of the people. It's kind of like the modern day tongues, language. People understand who God is. And so then in 2002, I came to Bethel Church, and some student at the school gave me a prophetic word that I would start an arts movement. And I really thought that he was crazy. I thought, I'm a pastor. You know, I fought hard to be a woman in leadership. Like, I'm sorry, but I am a pastor, right? So I had this like this weird thing of, oh, this would be a demotion. I really felt that. I saw I had an open vision when I heard Bill preaching, and I saw myself in the back of the sanctuary, and I'm painting as he's preaching in my vision, and I'm spilling the paint. The actual canvas flies off, goes like bam somewhere. I'm on all fours trying to clean up the paint, and I remember in my head I said, I can't take away from the man of God. And it was gone. And I really hadn't painted since I was young with my mom, because she was an artist. So I hadn't really seen art as a way into the church, really. And so it was so funny, because the following year, after my husband and I and my son Chad did first year, I was asked to head up all the creative arts with Chris Valentin. I thought, I can't get away from that. Like, what's going on? But it was almost like he was propelling me into something, because what has happened because of this thing, is I've been able to develop supernatural creativity, where people are getting healed through art, dance. I'm able to speak like globally on creativity and lead conferences, do a school of creativity every year at Bethel. And now I'm able to launch e-courses like Create for Kids. I mean, what mom doesn't want their kids to know that they're all creative and that they can express themselves without criticism? I mean, so I launched courses like Create 28 sessions to unlock your creativity. I thought about people don't know how to hear God, so I created a course for that. And I just launched one called Created to Overcome, because what we found out, I have my own Create Academy, online academy with over, I think 1,500 students. But what I found is that most people out there, most of you women that are listening right now, what is happening is that you have defeating mindsets that keep you from going after what you're called to be. And I really examined our culture, and I realized that there were 4. I mean, I've studied Brene Brown, I've studied all different kinds of people, and one of them is shame. It's a big deal out there. Shame knocks on the door. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not, and says you're not good enough. You have perfectionism. When you start to create, you start to venture out in your dream, you go, well, I'm not perfect enough to launch an online business. I'm not perfect enough to do whatever. And so you stop doing what you're called, because you think you have to be perfect before you get started. And that's a huge deal for women. Because women think they have to be the perfect mom, the perfect Christian, the perfect everything. And so perfection weeds itself in, and it makes us really not love ourselves in a good way. And then I talk about fear of failure, because fear of failure is huge. People have not been successful, so they just go, well, I'm not going to be embarrassed again. Or I'm not going to try that again. And then also fear of rejection. People get rejected, and so they never, ever learn to go after their dreams. So most women out there, they're trying to copy what someone else is supposed to look like. They're trying to copy what it means to be a great Christian, what it means to be a great mom, and then they'll never find out who they truly are called to be. And so I remember in my book, Born to Create, I say I was coloring inside the lines of other people's expectations to get my signature out of the picture. And so for me, like, I have such a heart for women, and it's amazing when I teach how many women come forward, because they're dying to create. The church needs to become creative, because God is creative. Let's just look at that. God creates beautiful sunsets. He's a great artist. He creates with sound. He creates with every kind of genre. Why wouldn't he want his kids to be the same way? And why wouldn't he want us to influence culture? And so what I've done here at Bethel is I've been able to launch over probably 200 students that go out every single week and touch the city through creativity.
Wow.
I have people that are singing in restaurants through the kingdom. I have people that are doing art live at restaurants or coffee shops doing prophetic art for people coming in. We're in the library doing a creative hour for kids where we take them to go see Aslan and find out what he's saying. We're in the hospitals with art and music programs. We're launched into like the city events and doing stuff for the city as well. And so again, like if you dream and if you know the power of creativity, that's what influences culture.
Come on.
Yeah.
See, like if I have a big billboard that says repent, Jesus is coming back.
Right.
You know how many people get turned off? So many people don't even want to evangelize because they've seen the wrong model. But if I go up to somebody and say, hey, I have this photo on my phone. I know we're waiting in line and I feel it has to do with the season change for you. Would you mind if I share it with you? Oh my gosh, yeah, that's amazing. That starts a conversation.
Come on.
That can lead to a greater revelation of who God is outside of the walls of religion and fear. So that's a big part of what I do as well. So I kind of am launched into really exploring God and who he is and how he's wired us so that the church can really be set free. And they can also walk in worship or with their kids and they can start to create in all different kinds of ways there. But then they can also feel powerful to uniquely share about who Christ is in a way that they can enjoy versus a way that is cookie cutter, you know. And so that's important for me. So those are kind of the places where I've landed. But I had a word for you guys, and it's interesting because like Melissa, I was talking to Melissa. She was talking about her wall. I need something, and I was painting this painting, and it really is a word for what you're doing in your ministry, and it's this one right here. Let me share it with everybody here. It's called
Yes, love that. I love it. I love it.
And this is the meaning behind it. So I put my poetry with things. It says, jump out and make your mark in the world. Excuse me.
Love it.
Bless you.
Thank you. As you swing out through risk to hold on to what you can't get by sitting in yesterday's seat.
Wow.
We are seated in the heavenly realms. We're up here with Christ. This is where we're dangling. We're right here. We're not in the world. We're not of the world, but we're seated in Ephesians 2:6. And so wherever you are, because you want to get higher ground, you have to go up to what God is saying. And you have to release that, because as you do that, then you're able to swing out and take a risk and see changes happen down here on earth. So yeah, that is for you guys.
That picture just wrecks me. I just have goosebumps all over. All this emotion coming up. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm so excited.
Yeah. But so so that's kind of my story. That's a little bit about me. But the word I had for you, and then if you guys have any questions, the word I have for what you're doing is it's time. Like I feel like I was hearing Esther 4:14, like for such a time as this, you have been created to bring about a shift in the atmosphere where women can be powerful from every denomination, from every sphere of influence, not just in a way of knowing the word, but of living with the word, of living with the most powerful force on earth, which is Jesus in us, and knowing that he's calling us as women to be who we are. In our society, we have so many things going on with who women are. I mean, so many different things that the culture tells us that we have to be in order to feel loved, in order to feel secure, in order to like be okay with who we are. And that is not scripturally at all based.
Right.
It's not based upon what we do and how we love one another. Plus, the other thing we have is not only our identity is questioned, which of course is what Adam did. I mean, what Satan did when he said, did God really say that? So it's a temptation to question our identity. The other thing that has happened to women is that they've lived in such a comparison world that they haven't been able to get the love that they've needed from one another.
Right.
And I believe that that's what you're going after, is like, we need to learn from one another.
Mm-hmm.
We need to learn about how to mentor the next generation. We need to learn about how to find people that are mentoring us. We need to be connected to people that we're walking alongside with, because that's how God designed us to be.
Yeah.
And so that thing about how the enemy has tried to divide us from him, from our mates, from like our calling, from what we're called to be together, like that's coming down through your ministry. I feel like the Lord is really blessing the strategies that you all have. And I feel like there's even going to be something shifting in regards to discipleship that all of you are going to get to. So I saw different things happening that the Lord is going to stir. And I'm just excited because women are chosen to bear children. They were chosen to be with Jesus at his death. They were chosen to be like valiant, like Deborah or Joan of Arc or people like that. There's the valiant ones that go out and kick butt. They kick butt like no one's business. And then you have the ones that are the intercessors that, oh my gosh, without them, we would not be here right now. I would not be here right now.
Right.
And then you have the ones that are just like the most encouraging force on the planet. Like more than anything else, they can carry each other's burdens. That I think is so key for what we need. And that's how we bring reformation. I'm going on I have a 10-day, I'm going to write a book on art and poetry right now. So I'm in that process because my husband just left for Southern California. So I have 10 days of time, you know, and I'm still working, but I have time. But it's the kind of stuff where I'm going, wow, what does love look like? What is love? What is the power of love in this pandemic? What is the power of love that can change the way that a woman feels about who she is? What is the power of love that comes in and can shift culture more than anything else? And so I had a person I wanted to mention named Harriet Beecher Stowe, who was this African-American woman who, you know, she was just like in this place of seeing the injustices about what were happening. And she decided to, in her pew, in her church setting, she began to write Harriet Beecher Stowe. I'm sorry, she started to read Uncle Tom's Cabin. So she started to write that. And as she did, that is the thing that changed where the whole U.S. society was going, because it exposed what was going on with slavery. And when Abraham Lincoln was honoring people that had been involved in transformation of changing the whole outcome of this war, he invited her and he said, there's the little woman that changed the big war.
Wow.
Started the big war. And that's interesting to me. Like, women are so vital for what God wants to do in history, and we need to be raising them up into their rightful place. And so that's a part of creativity. This is a part of what can happen. It can be mass produced in a place in America without online, without anything. She changed the face. So that's huge.
That's good.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. I know when we just look at history in general and so many amazing, powerful women that weren't even like trying to be amazing and powerful, right? They were just doing what out of them naturally. Whether it's standing up in the back of the, bus, refusing to, take a back seat just because that came from the inside, that injustice, or, writing that book, or, I mean, there's so many things that women just carry naturally and give birth to, that creates amazing legacy. I mean, that's what we do, right? We have children, we create amazing legacy. And one of the things in our group that we've been so passionate about is in the private group, where we're just shy of 3,000 women right now, is we have a no sharing posts rule. Everything has to be original content. And so, because I want to hear their voice and their opinion and what they have to share. not the, like what you're saying, the copycat. I don't want you to just share what this person thinks. I want to hear what you have to think. And the whole concept is for these women to get used to using their voice, right? Into sharing their thoughts. And the coolest thing ever, I think I've ever seen in my life is we're not micromanaging this by any stretch of the imagination. All of my mentors and stuff are like, you're opening your platform to an open mic thing. And I'm like, yep. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yep. But the most amazing thing that I'm seeing is these women who literally never shared their voice before, coming on for the first time, sharing these deep, amazing things. Or even, okay, so yesterday I had to just, I know I'm going to share it. I'm going to share it. I'm not going to mention names because I want her to feel safe, but like, we need to get real and raw with each other. And she literally waxed her mustache in front of everybody on live, you know, going, hey, I know there's got to be at least 20 of you out there that have to do this too, you know. I'm just dying laughing. And all of the women, no matter what's being shared, whether they're sharing about their abortion story, their drug rehab story, their marriage falling apart, waxing their mustache, not wanting to have to wear a bra or take a shower during COVID, everything under the sun, and all of these women, we're not micromanaged at all. All of these women coming around, loving, sharing, supporting, encouraging, learning. I have not had to go on and like monitor comments about, you know, any kind of attack or any kind. I mean, it's just been mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling, because these women are going, oh my gosh, we all have a voice. We're all powerful together. They're just getting it. They're just getting it. And it is like, I have goosebumps just anytime I, you know, start talking about it, because this is just Papa. This is just a move of Papa like I've never seen before. And he's raising up these women in all the diversity that you mentioned, the intercessors, the warriors, the encouragers, crazy, amazing servant hearts. All across, we've got, it was a couple weeks ago, the last time I checked, I'm not sure where we're at now, but over 31 countries represented already. We've only been in existence for 6 weeks, Theresa.
Come on. Hey, I'll be your mama T. I am with you guys. I will be praying for you. I'll be cheering you guys on. I love this. This is my heart. Like, I want to see you guys thrive and grow. This is so much a part of the move that God wants for his kids. It's like, I think that Brene Brown was such a forerunner, even though she wasn't necessarily like a part of the you know, the Protestant, well, kind of, she was kind of, but she's kind of her own deal because of her sociology background. But when she talks about like real courage is vulnerability. I mean, isn't that what Jesus did? I mean, here he just washed his disciples' feet. He was vulnerable about every part of his life. And we need to be the same. And that's the part where shame comes in, because shame has tried to rob us of doing that. And so no one wants to get in the arena. Hey, if you don't share your crap, I'm not going to share mine. And this whole thing that's happened, where especially in social media, it's just it's like a game for people, what they can do to kind of protect their image. No, let me tell you who I really am.
I love Brene Brown. What she created is amazing for
what she's done is incredible. That's the kind of stuff where, guys, we're walking into a place where people get to share who they really are. And in that process, that's where real healing happens.
Exactly.
And for healing that happens with, like, what I feel, with all of us together sharing in their story and loving and accepting them right where they're at, versus saying, oh, you can be accepted if you are just like, let's laugh at that. That's like the most ridiculous thing, right?
It is.
Right. Well, that actually did happen this week. We had a gal come in and she felt like she didn't belong because she hadn't arrived to where she saw everyone else. And what happened at that moment, the women just surrounded her. And now she's been going on live all the time. She's getting into her personal testimony. She's getting raw. She's getting real, because it's like we're all there. We're all in process. Nobody has arrived. So don't look at someone because you see where they're at thinking, oh, well, they're not going to be able to understand because I'm not there yet. It's like, that's a lie of the enemy. We just need to laugh at that, right? I mean, come on. And so it was just so amazing because you just saw these other women that were like, I haven't gone on live yet, but what your story just pierced my heart. And I said, I had to go on and I had to encourage you. So it's just this like dynamic force that's being risen up. And what I love, what Melissa has done, is the way that she's organizing it. There's a whole like prophetic and intercession happening over the group as well. So it's not just like activating, equipping, and deploying where there's nothing like backbones. There's backbones of this that are praying and seeing different things for the group. So it's incredible.
Yeah. I love it. I love it how it really isn't about who has the perfect plan. It's really people that are going to go into the arena and just be real, and people that like just are going to support one another in community and life. And think about like in the process of what's happening, think about the power of shifting the atmosphere. Like I'll never forget, I had Sarah, who I raised up, she's written a couple books on dance, and she's on my team here at Bethel. And so she was with me in Texas, and I was speaking in a church, a conference. And so we do workshops like in art, dance, like we're going to do for the School of Creativity in June. Anyway, so she went up to this little girl who was about 10, and she goes, hey, would you like to dance with me? And it was during the worship time. And the little girl, her head went down. She goes, I'm not allowed to dance in church. And so I said, well, why don't you go ask your mom or dad now? Because I think that there was a change this weekend where that might have changed. And so she went back there and she asked her dad, can I dance? And she came running back and she goes, I can dance. I can dance. And the beauty of that is like, if she doesn't ever learn how to dance for the Lord, who will she learn to dance for?
Right? Come on.
And so there's something that happens when we allow God to realize like what you guys are doing with the women that you're gathering, what God's doing in this movement, it's going to ripple down to these kids. Because and this is just a true fact psychologically, every person who feels ashamed about who they are, their body image, who they are in their like personality or they're going to teach their children that same philosophy, not necessarily saying it, but actually acting it out.
Yeah.
And so the way that we change the direction of our country, the direction of different countries, isn't by them knowing the right facts. It's about people learning how to be real with one another in a way that we're okay with who we are because God created us and we're his masterpiece. I mean, we're called his masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I think that's the part that you guys are doing. It has to be modeled. It has to be shared because it takes a person a long time because of all the criticism, the fear, whatever, to really come out of their closet and say, I think I'm going to post this thing that really has happened in my life. Yeah. And then one person's victory creates that ripple effect for somebody else to say, oh, well, then if she shared, maybe I can share.
Exactly.
And it's just like pops open.
I think it's so awesome. You know, what I have been thinking about and seeing is, especially with the introduction of social media, which we would think it's, you know, everything's about, you know, connection, tons of connection. It's actually like this false connection. We think we're connected.
Right.
And so then we're not really making real connections. And then from the inside, we're starving for connection, but our brain is getting wired for the social media connection thing. And it's so false. And so I think people have been literally starving for connection. I'm not even talking COVID quarantine. I'm talking over the past decade with the introduction of all the social media connection that has so much, you know, pretense and falsification. Let's put our, you know, best face on, you know, Facebook and all our perfect pictures. So our life was perfect.
Right.
There was actually a young man at a place that I was working. who had said, like, and he was a trying to think, was he a millennial or a Gen Zer? I can't remember. And his comment was that he literally wanted to kind of like create jealousy, like to prove his life was better than theirs through pictures, through Instagram and stuff like this. And I'm kind of jaw dropped because I was like, dude, your life's a mess. Like, I'm the one that's like been helping you. You know, my husband and I mentoring you. Your life is a mess, but you're presenting as if it's just this amazing life, right? And that's what's happened. And so I think we've been so starving for real. In this environment with these women that are just being real. They're being real.
Yeah, I think
been, you know, meeting that need, that nourishment, if you will.
Totally. I think Melissa and team, I think that that's part of what's happening right now within our culture. Is our culture has learned that there's artificial ways of getting my needs met. Whether that's in pornography, whether that's in like social media, whatever it is, it's like it's me taking my need for intimacy and then putting it on, well, I think I'm going to shop because I feel a need for intimacy. I think I'm going to go on social media and become a rock star over here. I'm going to be, it's all these things that people have to cover up a true need for intimacy. It's just like, it's like what happened in the garden. Like, Adam, where are you? Well, let me tell you, I disconnected from you.
Right.
You did what? Yeah. Well, I have to clothe myself now. Like that thing of that. So all that stuff is just a place that they can clothe themselves because they're ashamed of sharing who they are because they've been either rejected or they weren't loved when they were young or something triggered that. And so there's people walking around trying to get their needs met. And so the COVID just also brought in this place of, oh, I usually get my needs met here and now I can't. So there's that thing that presses into them of that you can tell how agitated people are right now, and it's because of that. But it's interesting, guys, because when you truly belong, which is what you're bringing into this platform, what happens is that you really start to feel the love of God, because it's hard to feel the love of God if you've never been loved before. It just is. And so part of what you're doing is you're creating a safe place for everybody, everyone, every woman out there who has not been able to be herself because the church has been catty, or it's been just a game, or their family was very critical, or their growing up years were all these different things where, and when you taste the real authentic love, you'll never go back to artificial.
Come on.
You just can't.
And not be satisfied, that's for sure.
No, exactly. It's like you're gonna eventually go, I don't want to do that anymore. I want this. So I love what you're doing, and you're creating a place for people to be real, to share their hearts about God, about their body, about how they're really doing, about getting their mustaches. Like, come on, that's awesome. That's real, right? That's really where we live, right? Like, I haven't been able to get my nails done. I'm going, God, please, and have bring back places where we can get our nails done. You know what I mean? The certain things that we just looked at and we enjoyed are like gone. And to be real is so important.
Well, and I think what's so beautiful is what you do, Theresa. And I think it's the healing through the creativity, right? Because I mean, Rochelle here, she can share a little bit kind of her story, but literally the creativity and how it heals. Because I know when I was at the Bethel conference in 2016, which I think was almost maybe to the day, like 4 years ago, that now we're here talking.
Is this the School of Creativity?
The School of Creativity in May of 16. Yeah, that's when Elrod Center was like downloaded to me, but I didn't know. But I had excruciating back pain, and I had a gal dance over me.
I know.
And I was like, that was out of my box. That was out of my thinking. I'm like, whoa. And so I was like, there is something to this. And so I think we have to get ourselves out of that frame of thinking that God only heals in one certain way. Yeah. Because if you think about it in the Bible, every time he performed a miracle, it was different. Yeah. He never did anything the same.
Well, he's creative.
Exactly.
The same, right?
I know.
But we haven't talked about that. Like we focus more
haven't.
on just like the logos, the word. We don't realize there's rhema, there's activity that happens when healing takes place.
Absolutely. I'll share about that. Like, first of all of you like know this, like when you read the Bible and he says, I want you to go into all the world, heal the sick. He never says how. He never says, okay, get out the oil and do it this way and say these words, because you guys are teaching God is creative and you need to find out for yourself what he's going to do in this situation. We had this one girl who came to the hospital bed of this man who was dying. He was on a ventilator. He didn't have any hope at all to live. His family was called in. So as a last ditch effort, she got this call. Hey, could you could you just do something and just minister to him? So she just starts to sing a song. And as she starts to sing, after 5 minutes, he actually sits up in bed.
Come on.
He gives his life to Christ.
Amen.
His legs that were like swollen 3 times the size go down within a 3 to 4 hour period.
Wow.
He leaves the hospital in 5 days, and then he did the school of ministry here. That is like,
come on,
guys. That's because she did something about what she felt the Holy Spirit tell her to do. Now that's a miracle, because we're connecting to God. We're not connecting to a formula. We're connecting to a person. And so, when I did like Create to Be Free, my e-course about healing through like trauma and loss and fear and anxiety and unforgiveness, we've taken it to like Iraq. We've taken it to the refugee camps. We've taken it to the sex slave, to different people. For that very reason, like what you're talking about, there's a healing inside that you can only get out through creating God. There's just something about that that's so huge that we have found. And teaching people, I think what you're talking about is teaching people that they can supernaturally, creatively unlock things within them or be unlocked is super important. Guys, this is so important, because what it does is like everybody who thinks that they have to do a formula doesn't have to do it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
You get to ask God. I mean, that's what's so huge.
Well, don't you think he like did that on purpose though? Because in order to be creative and know how Papa wants to be creative in a situation, we have to lean into him and listen, right? Yeah. And that's that co-laboring. Like he created us to co-labor. If he gave us a formula, that's not really co-laboring. It's just a formula, and it's like, we learned 2 + 2 is 4. I did not have to go co-labor with my kindergarten teacher just now to have that. I exactly had it in my head. So with the formula, that's what we would do. We wouldn't need him anymore. We could just memorize the formula and go do it.
Yeah, you know what, Melissa, it's like this. It's like, and it's so simple. Like we complicate things so much. Religion complicates it. Religion makes it so hard. But if you look at it, like I have a little one-year-old grandson, and when he started to walk and he took his first steps, it's like we were right there just cheering him on. You can do it, David. You can do it. And then he would teeter-totter, and then he would take the next step. And now he's like running everywhere. But what he needed was somebody to encourage him and to help him along so that he could understand how to do that. The same thing. I think my role as a creative woman catalyst is to help people to get going. Say, you should go ahead, try that. Go ahead and write that book that you feel called to. Go ahead and go after healing for this. Like I've seen, guys, just a quick testimony. Like I was speaking because of creativity. I was speaking up in New York at one of the major universities up there, and because I was speaking on creativity, right? And so there was a forum, the students were invited, and I started talking about the power of creativity. We have light, we have this, we have that because of people's inventions. And I said, and God like also create with us. And they're going, what? I go, yeah, who here has a leg shorter than the other? And this woman tentatively like raises her hand, the student, and I go, well, come on up here. And so she came up here, and I talked to my intern that was there. I said, I'm going to have David just release a song. And of course he's looking like, oh, dear God in heaven. And again, I say what you say too, Melissa. I said, you cannot use anyone else's song. You have to use an original. He's like going crazy, like, oh my gosh, Theresa, what are you doing? I'm so embarrassed right now. But I said this other thing. I said, hey, if you've never seen a miracle through creativity, come forward. So we're having like probably about 100 people gathered around this one person whose leg was shorter than the other. And it was by that. It was a lot. It was a lot, maybe an inch and a half.
Wow.
And so he starts to sing, and he ends up with this little song that he starts to, and they start to sing, and the leg completely grows out.
Come on.
And from that, they started to get full of the presence of God. Revival broke out, which is happening even now. Why is that possible? Because creativity of me taking a risk and creating with God will change the atmosphere.
Come on.
It has to.
Yes.
It has to change the atmosphere.
Yeah. So good.
I just love that. Well, I know Rochelle started doing, she like literally came on the team, and I think it was less than a week later, already had her like arts and, you know, prophetic arts Zoom going on. I think the first time was like the morning and the evening, right, Rochelle, for like an hour each. Yes. And the coolest thing I thought about that, and she just did this, you know, open call to people. If you sing, if you do music, if you paint, if you dance, whatever you do, you know, come join us. Yeah. And it really, I think, brought a lot of freedom to people that just kind of like the open mic, like, well, if they can do it, I can do that, you know, and just making it that safe space to come and just try out creativity, right? Just a safe space. Yeah. And anyway, Rochelle, share about that.
I learned creativity is really a love language between us and our Father. And so when I started really walking in that creativity, it gave language, it gave voice to the things so deep inside of me that I could never articulate with words, but I can articulate with movement. I can articulate through drawing, through writing poetry, through painting. It's just absolutely incredible. And I just started to say yes. And as I started to say yes and just go, the Lord has been unlocking weekly, something new that I've learned that I did not know I was inside of me. And it's beautiful. God is doing something really, really amazing.
Yeah. It really is. It is a movement, and it really is amazing because, I mean, I have to, if you study the history of, Rochelle, of the arts, you'll find that women were not that heavily involved in anything. They weren't involved in the music, the art, the writing. I mean, the ones that the Emily Bronte, a lot of them had to change their names to men. Right. And so what's happening, there's a flip happening because, again, it's what the enemy tried to steal, right? He always comes to kill, rob, and destroy. Now it's like through creativity, the women are flooding into this thing because they're so in tuned to like hear from God in a very intuitive way. And so that's where the church has, in a sense, like stifled that, because the church has been more like teaching oriented. And you have to realize, like, the Bible is 75% story, 15% poetry, and 10% instruction. Let's laugh at that, right? Let's laugh at that right now, right? And so what's happening now is like the Holy Spirit's getting a hold of these women, and these women won't let go because they finally have found their voice. Now that is huge. And so, like, when I do conferences around the world, it is 75% women, because they're so hungry to express themselves. Exactly what you're talking about, Rochelle. Whereas the men are so heavy into their intellectual or their fear of being self-conscious that they don't enter in as easily. It's just a very interesting thing how God is flip-flopping that so that women can find their voice, but that the women can once again be involved in the church life in a very prophetic and creative way. So it's just very interesting. But I have a word for you, Rochelle. I saw the Lord like give you colors from heaven that were almost like these beautiful, radiant, like almost like Joseph's many-colored coat, and saying you need to, as you wear these colors, as you wear who he is creatively, that is going to get, and it's going to cover all of these other women who have been afraid to share about their art, or because they're afraid of failure, or share their, whatever it is that they're into, poetry, cooking, whatever. And I saw the Lord just say, she's got it. Like, there's something that you've got it. You've got the understanding of the power of his voice that wants to be expressed. So I think that God's going to really do something in this next season in your life that's going to explode in what it's called to be. So take it.
Thank you. I receive.
Come on.
Rochelle, that reminds me of your book cover.
I know.
Really?
It's right here. I should get it.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. That's awesome.
So she painted it. So she's a dancer.
Oh, wow, that does. Oh, cool. Yeah. That's so cool.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's amazing.
Thank you, Lord.
Yeah. And there's something, guys, I just have a word for you guys too, as far as the women that are listening and you guys, but I also feel like there's a call to march, not in a way that is against anyone, but that is for everyone. I feel like what you're going to be doing is raising up a mighty army that doesn't have a protest, but has a message of hope and healing because of what they're building together. And that's going to be a strong web that other people, when they fall into comparison or fear or anxiety, you're going to catch them, and they're going to be netted together in this community, and they're not going to feel like somehow they don't belong. I feel like inclusiveness, like the spirit of inclusiveness, the spirit of looking and being a champion of those that are just learning, is on you guys to raise people up. So he's got a lot for you guys.
I'm so going to send you our vision statement. It's an audible, but so many things that you're saying are absolutely beyond spot on with the vision statement, and like that, not being birthed from something that's, against. It's like the other women's movements have actually, rose up against something, right? And in that vision statement, it says we're not birthed from, pain or all these different things. It's actually, birthed from a heart of God for, women, and for the kingdom, and for his son. So yeah, it's like
so good.
So exciting.
Yay, that's awesome, you guys. I'm so excited.
So we are trying to, I have been totally into this and not paying attention to the question. So I'm paying attention now, all the viewers, if you have.
Go for it.
Yeah. So let me see.
And then Theresa, so are you guys doing because this is typically the time that you guys do the School of Creativity.
It was going to be this week. Yeah. Well, we're doing an online school. It's June the 12th to the 13th. I'll let you know. We have David Oyelio. He's the one who he was in Selma. He played Martin Luther King. He's an incredible man. He'll be sharing. Stacey Campbell, who's an incredible revivalist, as you know, and prophetic voice, will be sharing as well. So we have about 6 different speakers, and then we have 20 different workshops in dance, art, fashion, photography, culinary, film, and media, coaching. And so people, when they buy it, they get all 20 because it's all recorded through Zoom, which is great, right? So for the School of Creativity, you can only get the workshops that you were involved in for those 3 days. So it's a Friday, Saturday intensive, less time because people just can't do as much in the screen time as they could live.
Right.
But yeah, so I can send that all to you.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
Please do.
And then share about your e-course that you're getting ready to do.
Yeah. I just launched this week. So it's called Created to Overcome, and it's breaking off defeating mindsets that keep you from being creative and really following your heart. It's the one that deals with shame, perfectionism, fear of failure, and fear of rejection. So I give you guys encounters how to break that off. What is the lie behind that? what does God say in your new identity, and then ways that you can walk that out. So yeah, so that just launched. I was just with, I think we just got about 100 people on right now this week. And so that's a great one, because I meet with you guys like weekly in the mentorship, and they're able to ask me questions, and I'm able to help them grow as well. So
Wow,
got that too. Yeah, so I'm excited. It's going really well. Yeah,
I'm sure.
now
So
where do they find that?
Oh
they
yeah.
can go to theresadedmon.com, and then it says new e-course created to overcome, and then they could just log on there.
Okay.
And so how are things with COVID? How is that impacting where you're at right now?
Oh,
With the creative arts and, you know.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Basically everything is online now. Our school of ministry, the last like couple months was online. They just graduated last week. Like I'm doing the first conference for Bethel through Zoom, which is awesome. So we're moving into that platform.
Okay.
And it's kind of like we're kind of running, trying to pick up on how do we change from face to face to an online world. So we're learning all that. It's crazy, but it's also like what you talked about. What I've found, this is just me personally. So for me, I have changed my focus. Before I would travel at least once or twice a month. I was ready to go to the UK right when everything happened. So so all of this stuff has changed. So now I just did a creative conference in the Bay Area online, just like a week and a half ago. So so it's just that pivot. I'm doing a pivot into really involved in social media, which I am not good at. I feel like I'm the person that goes, so what button do I press next? I should have little snafus from the team teaching me all that.
Right? That would be fun, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm having to like navigate through Instagram, through Facebook, through all these different channels to like really teach them about the power of creativity and the power of what can happen as we hold on to God and become a prophetic voice there. So I'm learning, guys.
Well, I know I was talking with Lindy Ann, you know, because she's now in Reading, and she's like, I want to do a dance on the bridge. Like, I want to do something, bringing the creatives together. And I don't know what that looks like in California. I don't know where you guys are at with all your open restrictions. But I know myself personally, we're having a big worship service at our Capitol on Sunday. And
great.
Yeah, we asked for a permit. We were ready for it to be denied, but it was approved and we got the park permit. So we have probably over 700 people that have said that they're going or interested in. So I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like it's time. Like it's just time. And I know in California, they're going to be opening up churches. I don't know if Bethel's going to be a part of it. But on Pentecost weekend, I know that I
think we have 400 churches. We just talked about that, and Eric wants to hold up on that. But I feel the same way. I feel like there's something that God is doing where He's stirring up the churches to come back. And to me, that's an essential. I'm sorry, but that's an essential, like,
right,
constitutional right. Like, and so for me, those are the kinds of stuff that I'm just praying into that would become a part of where we're headed as well. Because I agree with you. God wants His people to be together.
Yeah.
About it.
Unity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good.
This whole COVID thing, it was blowing my mind. Had driven to the grocery store, and this, quite a few weeks ago now, driven to the grocery store. Churches had been, shut down. And I'm driving home and I happened to look across the road and Specs was open. I was like, how's the liquor store service and very busy right now, I might add, and the church is closed. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's backward. It's totally backward. It totally is. It's one of those things where it's crazy how it is a telling sign to what Christians need to be praying for, what Christians need to be fighting for in this next election. I mean, it really is, to me, it's setting up the stage for, wait a second, guys, we don't have the right people on board in our different governors. Like we don't, I mean, that's what's sad is like, wait a second, you have a lot of constituents that are believers that believe in religion of their choice and not to factor that in them using COVID methods, obviously, but still that's just something that I want to see too. I agree.
Yeah. Well, we are so appreciative that you took the time and came on and shared, and we're holding you to your Mama T offer. Yeah, totally holding you to that. We actually have a mothering mentoring program that one of our ladies, Pam, has birthed in the group. So mothering is so important to our movement, like so important. So I want to thank you for that. And if you wouldn't mind, like praying over us and praying.
I would love that, Melissa. Father, I thank you for the winds of change, Lord. We don't want to go back to a season where we were so lax, Lord. We're moving into a season where all of us in our own home choose daily what we believe by how we live with our family, with our friends, with the people around us. God, you are shifting the culture. And Father, I pray for this movement of women that, Lord, you would begin to gather. I saw the Lord gather in these little eaglets and teach them how to fly and teach them how to grow. Father, I thank you that this is a season of going to higher ground, of going into the heart of every woman and saying, you're worth it. Father, I bless each woman that's a part of this. I bless the calling that's on their lives. I bless the fruit of what will be happening because they feel like they're accepted and that their voice matters. And we bless the creativity that is in Michelle and in her message, God, that you would open up the airwaves for people to start to create around the world, not from a sense of trying to be perfect, but in a sense of wanting to hear from God. And that, Lord, there would be such a shift of focus because of the power that's released through being alive and loved versus being afraid and condemned. So we bless that in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. I'm so excited.
So there was a question. Would love to hear if there's a book other than the Bible that has really inspired you, Theresa, in your journey.
Okay.
Well, that's a great question. I really, oh my gosh, I have so many great books. I'd say probably Bill Johnson's book, Dreaming with God, really spurred me on.
It's a good one.
To go into creativity deeper. I love anything by C.S. Lewis. I'm a great fan of his as well. But I'd say the book Dreaming with God will open people up to the more of God and seeing what he has for them creatively. So that would be a great book.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a good book that I think gives so many people permission. Dreaming with God is like a permission slip.
Yeah, I agree.
Great one. That's a great one. Well, thank you. I appreciate it so much. I'm so excited. Love this time with you. And I'm going to be reaching out. I want that picture on my wall.
Okay, Julie, go ahead and give her my contact. I emailed you my my phone number, and you can contact me.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Love you guys.
Love you. See you soon.
Bye.